Hey gang, it's Squill, and we finally finished discussing the setup episodes of Fionna and Cake, which means the real adventure finally begins. Destiny is the first multiverse-hopping episode of Fionna and Cake, and the only one to revisit a universe we've already seen in the original show. I thought it was a good idea to ease us into the multiverse-hopping shenanigans with a location we're already familiar with. But how is Destiny as an episode? Well, let's get into it. Destiny begins with what is easily one of my favorite cold opens in the entire show, in which we see Farmworld Finn with ice powers freeze a family. The segment is brief, but I absolutely love the ominous tone it's able to capture. It really makes you feel for these people who were all victims to Finn's madness. The episode proper begins where the last episode left off, with Simon explaining his plan on getting the crown back to Fionna and Cake. While Fionna and Cake don't seem to have much of an issue with Simon's plan, it's pretty clear to us, the audience, that Simon values the lives of others above his own. Much like with Marcy, Simon sees him putting the crown on as a noble self-sacrifice for the greater good, when in reality it wasn't always the best solution to a problem, just the easiest solution his mind could come to. Basically, my dude Simon needs to learn some self-respect. Before the trio can start looking for the crown, Fionna falls asleep, which is pretty real of her if I'm gonna be honest. Fionna wakes up to find a dead mouse under her that Cake planted. One of my favorite jokes in the episode. It's another great example of Cake just acting like a regular house cat. This causes Fionna to take her shirt off. It's pretty funny just how little of this show features Fionna in her classic outfit we're all familiar with. It's pretty much just Prismo the Wishmaster and like the first 3 minutes of this episode. I guess now is a good time to mention that I really enjoy Fionna, Cake, and Simon as a group dynamic. Fionna and Simon contrast greatly against each other, with Fionna as this young, overeager adventurer, and Simon as this jaded old man who's just done with it all. It makes for some really fun interactions between them, particularly in the first half of the episode. And as I've said before, Cake works perfectly here as the comic relief character. Meanwhile, Scarab is attempting to track down Fionna and Cake. This episode is definitely one of Scarab's better roles. One of the only times he makes for an actually intimidating presence. Going back to the main plot, I really love the design of the post-apocalyptic farm world. It's got a really fun, chaotic vibe. Love all the character and background designs. It's in this scene that we're reintroduced to the leader of the Destiny gang, Big Destiny. Such a fun character, it's great to see he's still a huge jerk-ass all these years later. In this scene, we also see that Big Destiny has a daughter named Little Destiny, who will be of importance later. We also see Farmworld versions of Starchy and Wildberry Princess, both of whom get interrogated by Fionna. This scene does a great job reinforcing Fionna's character flaw of being too reckless and not thinking about other people. The trio then stumble upon Choose Bruce, who claims to have the crown. I love how skeptical Simon is here. I wonder if he recognizes him as Farmworld Choose Goose, or if he's just naturally this suspicious. I choose to believe the former. Choose Bruce's crown ends up being a scam, and Cake smashes him with a giant fist. Just like last episode, I love just how awkward Cake's magic here is. Cake using magic gets them caught by the Destiny gang. However, they are thankfully saved by Jay, the oldest son of Farmworld Finn. I don't really have any strong opinions on Jay as a character in this episode. I think he's fine. I guess my view of him is kinda lessened by a certain baffling decision made with him near the end of the show, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But again, he works well enough in this episode. Jay introduces the characters and reintroduces the audience to Farmworld Finn. I love this portrayal of a rugged and worn down version of Finn. It's such an interesting contrast to the much more energetic, albeit emotionally repressed version of Finn we're used to. He's clearly still dealing with the trauma that the crown inflicted on him, as well as likely being an outcast from the rest of society. One aspect of the post-apocalyptic farm world that I find interesting is the existence of magic. Finn doesn't seem to have a particularly strong reaction to Cake's stretching abilities, and even has the line, "We don't truck with magic." To me at least, this makes it seem like magic still exists within the farm world, and that Finn and his kids have encountered it, but that it's so rare that most people don't think it still exists. But speaking of Finn's kids, all of them appear to be designed after an offspring of Finn's from the original show. We have Jay and Bonnie, which are the names Finn gave his kids in Puhoi. This kid with the glasses clearly resembles Neptr. The kid with the bandana is definitely Stormo. The only kid here who doesn't resemble one of Finn's offspring in the original show is this ginger kid. However, he's very clearly designed around Huntress Wizard if you pay attention to his green eyes, as well as the fact that both of the other human versions of Huntress Wizard we see are also gingers. Clearly, this version of Finn officially got with Huntress Wizard and had a large family with her before she mysteriously passed away. Farmworld Finn having such a large family was likely influenced by both his parents being a consistent presence in his life, as opposed to our Finn, who didn't meet either of his parents until he was a teenager and has a pretty complicated relationship with both of them. I also have to mention Farmworld Jake. Not gonna lie, it kinda breaks my heart a little to see such an elderly version of Jake. He's a good boy though, I would love and protect him with all my heart. The scene where Cake feeds him her soup is so wholesome. I absolutely love this shot of Finn and Jake sitting next to the fireplace. The echo of Ice Finn's laughter is just haunting. The scene between Finn and Scarab is definitely one of my favorites in the episode. It's another great example of just how stoic this version of Finn has become, giving Scarab as little information as possible. He's only able to recognize that Fionna and Cake were there through the paw print that Cake left on Jake's forehead. Meanwhile, Jay takes Fionna, Cake, and Simon to the crater left behind by the mushroom bomb, where unfortunately the crown is destroyed. I think there was a bit of a missed opportunity here for Simon to learn about his Farmworld counterpart. The story of Farmworld Simon is another great example of Simon self-sacrificing for the sake of other people. It could so easily be tied back to the arc that our Simon is going through, and it kinda bums me out that they didn't go through with this. Soon after they find the remains of the crown, Little Destiny comes back into the episode, and we discover that she and Jay are dating. Their little Romeo and Juliet-esque love story is very cute, but nothing to really write home about. We learn that Little Destiny is sick, and that Jay has been trying to find a cure for her. Soon after we hear about this, the Destiny Gang returns, and they attack our main characters. Through the scuffle, we learn that Jay gave Little Destiny one of the ice jewels, and that has been what's making her sick. Our trio obtains the ice jewel, and they are able to use it to track down universes that have the ice crown. Finn riding in on what appears to be a stuffed Bartram was so funny. Great to see Barbar again. Love Finn's flamethrower arm, it's so badass. The reveal of Big Destiny's eyes was very funny. The Finn and Scarab fight was also great, despite how brief it is. The episode ends pretty abruptly though. We never find out whether or not Farmworld Finn actually survived this, which I wouldn't really have much of a problem with if it weren't for what they do with Jay and Little Destiny later on in the miniseries, but again, we'll get to that when we get to it. Overall, Destiny is a great start to the alternate universe episodes, as well as an excellent follow-up to the Farmworld trilogy from the original show. The first half of the episode gives us a great taste of the Fionna, Cake, and Simon dynamic, as well as establishing the post-apocalyptic Farmworld, and the second half gives us an excellent character study of Farmworld Finn, who contrasts beautifully against not only our Finn, but our Simon. I still think Crossover is the best Farmworld episode as a whole, due to its fast pace and the fascinating dynamic between the two Finns. However, Destiny is definitely a close second. And with that, please let me know how you feel about Destiny in the comments, and have a good one. Squill out.